Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today at Sunnyside. It's long class day here today. We can get getting our lawns rejuvenated here coming out of summertime. So thanks for joining us. I'm Trevor Cameron, our general manager here. Say hi to Nicole's in the background running the show.
Good morning.
We have our special guest back today, the Whistling Gardener, Mr. Steve Smith, is manning the questions on the blank screen. So make sure you give him a hard time too. So there you go. So before we start, because it is NFL season today, go Hawks. We've got an early lead here. Let's see what happens. I apologize if you're joining us from Indianapolis because that's where we're playing today. So go Hawks. We'll see what happens. So hopefully everybody got the handout. It's on the website. We email it. Should have access to it. If you need a copy, let us know. We can tell you where to find it or certainly get you a copy after class. But this is a great reference tool to me to kind of start step by step as we go through, which we'll talk about the class today. I think a lot of people get through the summer here in Western Washington. Perhaps you let your lawn go dormant. It's a little brown. Grass is the most resilient creature. It usually will come right back and say hello here as we start to get a little rain in the fall. But most people, to me, go straight for the bag of fertilizer, dump it on the lawn, and see what happens. So this will hopefully let you know, let's take care of moss first, weeds, and we follow this kind of step-by-step process. We don't have to do things twice, which nobody wants to go out and do the job twice in their yard. So we'll try to save you a little time today. So take a look at the handout. Now I'll start by, being brutally honest for me. I'm a Go Green guy. I use all organic stuff in my yard. I have on my lawn for over 20 years. Yes, I have nice grass. I'll show you a picture at the end. Not so nice right now, but I like my turf. I'm an OCD lawn guy, and I don't want to offend anybody by talking bad about this or that or whatever, but we're going to focus on a lot of green products today and stay away from weed and feeds and a couple other things. And I don't want to offend you if it's your choice, but I'll try to talk you into going a different route here as we get into fall. And I think you'll see the same results and have healthier soil and be happier for the environment, your kids, pets, wildlife, all the rest of it too. So I'll start with my disclaimer. There you go. Like I mentioned, turf grass is a most resilient creature. I kind of chuckle when I see grass, really of all kinds. You watch Discovery Channel, a lot of different shows, and you'll see grass get flooded, burned, buried, on and on. And what happens with grass? Oh, wow, here it comes again. We haven't seen rain in, 6 months in the savannas in Africa. We get a drop of moisture, and whoa, grass grows 3 feet in the next 6 weeks. So grass will typically come back. It's fine again if you let yours go dormant here this summer, but I think you're going to start to see some action in the fall here as long as we can get some of these things done here on time, okay? We'll go through kind of the steps. I'll show you some products here, kind of the order, some ideas on what I might think about doing here pretty quick in the coming weekends. At the end, I'll share a little slideshow with you, show you pictures of the products in case you missed them, and show you some pictures of my lawn after thatching destruction, top dressing, overseeding, and I'll show you my raccoon damage I'm fighting right now. So there you go. So the first step always with me is moss control. Maybe not as much in the fall. We follow the similar process coming out of winter and spring. We'll have another turf class here in March next year. But if you do have moss, that's the first thing I would attack. We've got two choices kind of for moss control around here. We've got Granular, which you'll purchase in a bag and apply through a spreader. This is Molemax from Bonide. This bag will cover up to probably 5,000 square feet. That's just ferrous iron sulfate. There's nothing chemical about that at all. But you got to be careful with granular moss controls like that. If I'm going along my sidewalk, my deck, the driveway, any kind of hard surface, I let those pellets sit there. They get wet. I'm going to have orange rust stains. So be real careful with the granular. Sometimes hand sprinkling on the edge maybe might help you a little bit. If you're running your spreader through and spitting it out everywhere, you might end up getting a little orange stain here and there on a hard surface. So ferrous iron sulfate's one choice. The other option would be the quote unquote natural way to go. And this is a potassium soap. This is also called Molemax, but it's a liquid. You can see I could put this on my hose, walk out and apply it to the areas that are mossy. I could spray this right on my sidewalk, my siding, anywhere. This does not stain. So this would be the natural way. This is what I use on my roof, my walkways, different things at my house. It's a little spendier, being something natural. So, you know, you got a half an acre of turf. This might not be the most cost-effective way to go. Maybe we go for the iron. But if you've got a small yard and you want to use it for other areas around, the liquid Molemax from Bonide, again, it's just a potassium soap. Very, very easy to use, natural. And again, I don't get the staining with that. So those are kind of the two options. If you've got moss right now, we go apply a moss control. You know, you're going to see it go black pretty quickly here as it kills the existing moss. If we use the iron, the liquid form turns it kind of more of a straw color. So you'll see kind of a yellowy brown in the yard. So that will tell you, okay, I'm done. Now we can rake it up, get that fluff out of there, and then start with the coming processes here as we get through spring. So the other half of this, kind of, we'll call this the opening weekend of the fall. So whatever weekend you may pick, or a day during the week, if you're not working, you know, this would be the thing to do first, that moss control, and we control our weeds. Then we can move on to phase 2 here, what we'll talk about in a minute. So moss we've got taken care of. Weed control, we've got a few different options, you know, for the turf. Now, you know, we'll teach a specific herbicide class I do every spring. You can join us next year and we'll just talk weed killers of all kinds. But when it comes down to it, there's really 2 kinds of weed killers that we're going to talk about with lawns. We have pre-emergent weed killer, which means I've got a soil surface, I sprinkle something out, it gets wet, it sinks down to the soil, makes a film, and that keeps things from growing through it. So that doesn't do anything for existing weeds, but it's a good preventative if you don't have weeds in your yard, okay? Post-emergent is what we typically use in our turf. We've got a dandelion out there, we've got a clover, we've got whatever. We go out and spray that with a post-emergent herbicide, and we will kill the weed without hurting our turf. You know, the second part of this, you know, herbicide discussion with lawns is, you know, pre and post-emergence kind of phase 1. Phase 2 is, in the whole world, there's really only 2 kinds of plants when it comes down to it. When I grow from the seed, I have 1 seed leaf, I'm a grass, or I'm a dicot, I have 2 seed leaves on most other plants on earth. So that's how we can buy a lawn herbicide that will kill dicots, things we don't want, that doesn't hurt our grass. I hope that kind of makes sense to everybody in about 30 seconds of explanation. But essentially, that's why we can go out and spray and not hurt our lawn if we buy the proper product. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways to attack this. The first thing we mentioned was a pre-emergent. Now, this is kind of a unique product by Bonide. It's called Weed Beater Complete. It takes care of all kinds of things. This is a pre-emergent and post-emergent. So this is a granular, doesn't have fertilizer in it. It's a little bit different than a weed and feed. But if I was really bad, covered with weeds, or you're beyond me for OCDness and you really want nothing growing, this may be the thing that's going to kill existing weeds and make a film on the soil that nothing will grow through. If we do this fall, maybe go out there in early spring, and we do that twice a year, you're probably going to minimize your weeds a little bit. Now, this is chemical. There's nothing organic about this at all, but I feel we should bring it up as an option if you want to go that route. So Weed Beater Complete would be the granular through a spreader that I could keep weeds from germinating and also kill existing ones. The hard part with this to me is, you know, I'm in the mood to overseed and top dress in the fall and the spring, which we're going to talk about. I can't use a product like this if I'm going to go sprinkle grass seed out. I want to make sure that's clear. So you have to have a totally thick, lush lawn that you are not going to apply seed to. Then I can put this down and it lasts for about 3-4 months. So it'll keep things from growing for a pretty good portion of time. Okay. Now, if we go to liquid herbicides, you know, you heard me in a second mention, you know, weed and feed. So again, I'm not going to stand here on the lawn pulpit and make you feel bad, but if I could ban one thing on earth, it probably would be the weed and feed. You know, we've got crappy synthetic fertilizers in those to me, and we're spraying chemical or herbicide over our entire property. If you're going to choose to spot spray, I don't have as much of a problem with that, even with a chemical or a synthetic, but I would go out and spot spray and focus that on where I have weeds and kill those individual creatures and not broadcast it over my entire property. To me, that's the difference between using a bit of chemical to your advantage and doing some spot spraying versus applying it everywhere. The excess runs into the groundwater, the stream, the lake, Puget Sound, and off we go with some environmental issues. So So I'll show you some chemicals and I'll show you a natural solution as well for spraying. If we look at kind of phase one, it's going to be Weed Beater Ultra. That's a product by Bonide. The difference with this, maybe you've seen Weed Be Gone, Ortho produces, you see that at some of the box stores or chain stores. This is a little different formulation of chemical. My issue up here in our climate is we want to try to get weeds taken care of early in spring in our lawn and in the fall so that we've got a clean winter and a clean summer doing this in spring. So this is one that will work much cooler temperatures. This will go down there in the 45-degree range. So I can apply this in late September, October to control my weeds and still have great effectiveness. Most of the other stuff I've seen, we got to be 70 degrees, which I would hope we have a few days left of 70 here in September, October, but our time is going to be limited with the higher temperatures. So look at something like Weed Beater Ultra for total weed kill. This is going to take care of most everything that grows in the lawn. Maybe not everything. If you've got a dandelion that's got a taproot the size of a carrot, probably going to have to get it twice. Maybe it has been there for some time. But if we get it sprayed now, we can see what comes back up. Maybe we hit it again. We're going to be much cleaner going in through the fall and then coming out for next spring as well. So Weed Beater Ultra is kind of phase one. Sedge Ender is a little bit upgrade on Weed Beater Ultra. Maybe I have some grassy weeds, some other things, sedges. Sometimes they'll come into a lot of the lawns here that live by native areas. But this would add a number of other things that maybe are a little harder to get. If you read the label, you can read through the list of everything that it controls or suppresses. This might be a choice for you if you've got some maybe a little bit harder to take care of. Again, chemical, it's non-systemic, but it is still chemical. But if we spot spray, we're a little bit more comfortable with that versus, again, nuking the entire turf area. Phase three is going to sound funny, but it's brush killer. I wish they'd make the label larger, but right up in the corner here says won't hurt your lawn. So you'd have to trust me, this doesn't. You know, we sell brush killer for killing blackberry and bamboo and a lot of other things that are maybe a little tougher to get rid of. But it works great as a lawn herbicide, to be honest with you. If I had a lawn or purchased a house that was filled with buttercup, horsetail, you know, morning glory, whatever, some of the harder to take care of weeds, this might be the way for you to get all that to start from scratch. Then we could swap to a little bit milder herbicide to use on dandelions and some of the simpler things. But this is probably going to be the one and only choice if we're going to fight horsetail, buttercup, some of the harder to take care of things. Brush killer may be the choice for you as well. Okay. Now, again, I'm kind of the organic guy, so I'm going to show you what I use, something a little more natural. Yes, I have to walk around with my screwdriver and pop a little piece of clover out once in a while and do this and that as I get them, because this spray certainly will not do horsetail and it certainly won't do a lot of other things, but most common little lawn weeds, this does a really good job for me. This is Weed Beater FE. So if you see the difference, all the other things I've shown you, if you look at this, it's got a brown label section right here. That designates a natural product from Bonide. We look at the rest of these products, I have the purple in there. So that's going to designate more of a synthetic or chemical. So you'll look on the shelf, this is a little gallon that's got a sprayer on it. I can spot spray. This is what I keep in my garage. You can buy concentrate. You can buy a little Windex bottle. All these things come in all those forms. But the Weed Beater FE is a natural iron derivative, HTTA iron. So this is something, honestly, would also kill some moss, some lichen, some algae. This is a pretty useful little product that will take care of some other things too. Now, does it kill clover? Not much for me. Oxalis, not much for me. But dandelion, spurge, there's a lot of other lawn weeds that this will take care of very, very easily. When you spray it, you're probably going to walk out in a couple hours and go, what have I done? Because you're going to have these little dark black green patches everywhere that you sprayed these on weeds that you have in your yard. The whole deal with iron is it's the same kind of idea as we talked about with moss killers. Grass or turf can absorb a massive amount of iron and not get burnt or die. A plant cannot. So if we use this as a spray, the lawn is going to absorb that iron and turn a really dark green black, where the weed will shrivel, hopefully kill the root, and then off we go with a clean lawn. Okay, so we'll show pictures of that in the slideshow as well, but those are kind of your four choices. I'd leave it up to you for herbicide, and certainly some are going to work better for others. Some may be red in the face and want to go straight to the brush killer. I'm done with horsetail. Other ones may be like me. If you keep up on it, you know, I'll be brutally honest, I don't even know if I've spent an hour this entire summer spot spraying weeds in my lawn, because I do this in the fall, I do it in the spring. I don't have a lot to start with, which means I don't get the seeds, and it's very easy to keep up on one here and one there before I let them take over the turf area, okay? So that's kind of phase 2. So we've got moss out, we've got weeds out. Now we can do a little raking, we can clean that up. We've seen the weeds shrivel. Now we're kind of just back to grass for the most part. So now is when we want to make a choice. You'll see those the next section there is thatching and aerating. Does everybody have to thatch? I would at least once a year, I do. You may not have to do it this fall, maybe you do. I think you'd have to make that choice for yourself. Aeration would be the other choice. Now, again, if you've got compacted turf, you tried to water this summer, you couldn't get the water to penetrate into the ground, and yes, maybe it's time to aerate. We're going to plug, rake the plugs up, get rid of it, and now we've opened up all those core aerators for soil to be added to, fresh grass roots, and we can rejuvenate the turf a little bit that way. So you would ask, I'm sure someone's probably asking Steve right now, how do I know if I need to aerate? You know, without looking at your yard, we probably can't tell you, but that would be my rule. If I walked out and I got hard pan, maybe I'm on a slope, I'm in sun, I tried to water it, just does not penetrate into the soil to keep my grass green, it's probably time to aerate. You know, get some of those old roots out of there, open up some fresh soil, top dress those plugged areas with some good compost, sand, topsoil, kind of whatever you like, and then we can attack the next section here, the overseeding and the top dress, okay? So I will say this about thatching. I should have brought in my old Conan rake to show you the shoulder destroyer. And I could rake and I could rake and I could rake, and I did it for years. The shoulder kind of gets a little sore now that I'm old. So I rented one for the first time, thanks to my wife, and I will rent one forever now. I'm done with the thatch rake dragon. I got a lot of turf, and it's much easier to go local rental store. Right here in town, Pilchuck Rentals, I think I paid $60, threw it in my truck, used it for 1 hour, and returned it and thrashed my entire lawn. And that, I'll show you a picture of that here coming up in the slideshow. So thatching machine, very easy, or perhaps have a company come do it for you. You know, he can run the machine over there. It's really light and easy to rake up and dispose of in your yard waste or the recycle area. But doing the machine, you know, either you rent one or you have somebody come do it for you real quick, okay? Now you'll see step 4 there is top dress and overseed. So again, moss is out, weeds have been sprayed, I've made the choice, do I thatch, do I aerate? All that stuff is cleaned up out of there, and now I'm looking at, now it's time to get this thing rolling here for fall. So if we want to overseed, we carry Seattle Shade and Sun. It's a great local mixture here. We bag it ourselves. We've got these fancy little paper bags with a little Sunnyside smiley sticker on it. We got pounds, we got 2 pounds, 5 pounds, measure whatever you want. But this is what we would want to do to sprinkle out as after all these steps have been done to rejuvenate our turf. So you typically, if you're overseeding, you need about 1 pound or 2 of seed per 1,000 square feet. That's it. If we were starting over from scratch and we had nothing but dirt, we've got more like 5 or 6 pounds per 1,000 square feet. But I like overseeding. I hand sprinkle. I do it every fall. I do it every spring. And I like the walking around, and maybe you're bonding with your turf as you go, but I like hand sprinkling because I can look as I'm going. I don't have much left here. This looks great. Here's a little patch here, and I can focus how much I put down depending on what I actually need. So it won't take you as long as you think you do. Well, unless you got the half acre, maybe you want to get a seed spreader. But if you've got a typical city lot, very easy to just hand sprinkle your seed out and focus it on what needs to be overseeded. So we're going to sprinkle seed out here after we've cleaned up. We're going to put our fertilizer down, and I would only use organic. This is what we swear by here. I think it's the best food on the market. This is from E.B. Stone. It's Nature's Green Old Lawn Food. They got a new package. It's got the happy dog and the happy boy there on the front to remind you, no chemical in there. Organic food is excellent for turf. I get everything I need out of that, and I will never, ever burn. So I could spill that bag. We have people call every year, oh, I spilled my bag in a pile and I tried to clean it up. Am I going to burn a hole in my grass? With Scott's, sure, you'd have a big burnt area, too much nitrogen on the synthetic food. With organic, nope, we just spread it out a little bit. Probably is a little greener in that little circle, but it's never going to hurt the grass long term. So that's how we can do seed organic lawn food like the EB Stone that we carry, and then lime. If we carry lightning lime, organic lime from Espoma, that's a big old 30-pound bag. I can put all three of those things down right together, and then I can top dress. Now, when I say top dress, that's a little different. When we talked about, you know, maybe we aerate, we're going to fill our plug holes and do all that's a separate issue. If you plug and aerate, we need to get something substantial to fill those holes so we're back to level. Nobody wants to walk out and see dips and holes all over the lawn. So that's a separate issue. Once we've done that and seeded, put our food down, added the lime on there, now we want something to cover that whole mixture. The birds will eat your seed. You know, it's really, it's like clockwork here in our climate, Western Washington. We're going to have a day like today. It's cloudy, misty. Probably wouldn't worry about my new seed drying out. Tomorrow the sun comes out. I better water it a little bit or I'm going to lose the seed. I have to keep it slightly moist, not flooded, but slightly moist. So always top dress. When I do all the seed, you want to do just like 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/4 of an inch. I'll walk out with buckets and just hand sprinkle a light top dressing of compost over the entire lawn, seeded, unseeded, a little top dress over everything. Helps build my soil, keeps the seed wet, hopefully keep the birds from borrowing most of it from you. And then I can look out every day when I get home from work in the morning and look out on that lawn and say, yep, compost, dark brown, black. It's got plenty of moisture. I'm good today. Other days I get home from work, whoa, that's pretty light brown. I think we got some sun. It's drying out. Let me go out and lightly sprinkle it. I'm not going to water it for an hour. It's going to take you just a few minutes to just keep that surface soil moist so that grass seed will germinate, fill in quickly, and then off we go. And again, in the little slide, you'll see some pictures of that here in a couple seconds, okay? So now we've gotten down into that kind of the fifth section there, the top dress and the overseed. And again, I hope everybody understands kind of that, kill the moss, kill the weeds, make a choice, aerate, no, not aerate, thatch, not thatch. Like I said, I would thatch at least once a year. For me, I might do it this fall, but it's always a spring thing. You could do either or, but either way, you're getting rid of all that dead thatch grass material down at the soil level and allowing the new turf to fill in. You'll be shocked. You'll see my pictures. A massive amount of material will come out. You'll probably walk out and say, what have I done? I've destroyed my lawn. It'll never grow again. Then you'll see my pictures 1 week, 2 weeks, and a month, and it looks better than it ever does after we get that grass out of there. So choose to thatch, choose to aerate, and then always the top dress, the food, the lime, and then a slight covering with either compost or top coat. You can kind of see behind me, blue bag from EB Stone. I'll pick it up. Look at that. It's even got the fancy red hat, the lawnmower on there, just to let them know if it's for lawns. So top coat or compost is always the green bag here. We have bags or bales. To me, is a superior top dress. And, you know, they're the same thing. And I want to, this is a tough one to explain. I don't care which one you use. I've used both. 1 year, I got some compost, I'll use that. It really doesn't matter which one you use. The difference with top coat is it's really finely screened. So it's 100% organic compost, but there will be no wood in there at all. Sometimes you use a compost, you top dress, I'll walk out and go, oh, I got a little sliver here and a little sliver there. Maybe I'm OCD, so I usually pick them up, but they'll turn to soil at some point anyway. But that's your choice. Is I think more and more people are choosing the top coat just because it's a little finer, it goes through a spreader a little bit easier, all those things. Compost will serve the same purpose too. I don't have a problem with either one, okay? So we've gone through the top dress overseed. You saw the next section there, 5. We talked about adding fertilizer on. These bags from EB Stone will do a couple thousand square feet. We can't burn, you know, you don't have to go out there with a laser measure and get your exact square footage. If you kind of pace it off and measure, you can get pretty close how many square feet you got and use the appropriate amount. Some people with small yards, take advantage of the sale, buy a bag of lawn food, half of it goes down this fall, sweet. I got another half to use for spring, you know, when I put my spring dose down. So fertilizer is always a key. I don't have a problem with any organic brand. We've tried, years ago in my yard, I did Dr. Earth and Espoma and all these different brands, and I played with stripes and tried to see which one was better and the better green and which I had to mow less. They're all good fertilizers. I think the EB Stone Nature's Green is the superior organic food. It's why we carry it exclusively here. But if you've got one of the other organic brands, great. You're still doing better than getting a synthetic fertilizer. So don't go run and throw it in the garbage and then try. Maybe next time you're choosing a good organic food, come by Sunnyside and give the EB Stone a try. I think that's the best one on the market again. So fertilizer is done. You see the lime listed on there as the next step before, again, we're doing the top dress. And the one thing I would want to say about lime and be really clear is lime is not a moss killer. If we were doing this class live, I would make everybody repeat it here after me 3 times because it's one of the more common mistakes. Well, Trevor said, put lime down, I'd kill my moss. Well, that's not what I'm saying. We need a different product to kill moss. The trick with lime is it's just natural calcium. We're trying to raise the pH of our turf area. And, long story short, moss will not grow in sweet soil or grow nearly as well. Turf loves sweet soil. So we have acidic pH soil here in Western Washington. You go out and put a pH meter, I would be shocked if your lawn, your garden wasn't slightly acidic. It always is. All we're trying to do with lawn is with lime is take that turf area, not our beds, not this and that. We want to take that turf area and try to bring the pH up. The grass is going to grow a lot better, and I'm going to have less moss, okay? So we get in the habit of this spring, fall. Whenever the rain starts, I'm always looking to put lime down and do this kind of project here in late September, even early October. I can get my pH up. I'm not going to have to worry about as much moss. I'm going to have a lot less work, probably less thatch. I mean, it goes on, but it's a great natural thing to do, pretty cheap, that we can do a couple times a year. Are you going to see a difference coming out of winter? Probably not. Next fall, yes. Spring after that, yes. As we do this consistently, that pH comes up, you're going to see a huge amount of difference in the amount of moss that you get, especially here in the winter, because everybody knows the gray days and the rain is coming, and you're going to see a lot of moss when we go out and talk about this in March. That's going to be the big time to fight moss, okay? So try considering using a lime. It's our easy way to go. The reason we carry lightning lime is what it's called from Espoma. Is it acts very fast, and that's the only bag I've seen where if we turn that over, it's going to tell you point blank, if you put this much down, I'm going to raise my pH this much. So you could go out and do a pH check, see what your number is, and go, wow, I'm at 6. I'd like to be at 7, or maybe even a little neutral 7. Maybe I want to be at 7.5. So if I about doing this and I put this much down here and get on a regular schedule, I will win and get my pH up. For me, about 20 years since I rebuilt all my lawns, I tried to do all the quick fixes and fix what I inherited until I just started over and did it myself. But I have a huge difference. I would have total moss in the entire yard every single spring coming out of winter. Now that I've gotten on the habit of the lime twice a year, I've only got a few little patches of it, and it's where it should be, where it's really shady in winter, where I get very little sunlight, and it's maybe a little bit wetter areas as well. So I'm okay with that. It's easy to go clean up and spray moss in a couple little strips here and there, and not have to go out and do 2,000-3,000 square feet at once, all right? So make sure lime is not a moss killer. We'll have to say that 4 more times here. So someone's probably going to ask about it again. All right. So last couple things here. I think we're doing okay on time. I'll just mention diseases real quick. We talked about, thatching, maybe getting well, maybe you're in for the workout and you want the shoulder rake or the old thatch rake, or you're going to rent a machine. That to me is the key of minimizing thatch diseases: red thread, pink thread, dollar spot, snow mold. We can go on and on. There's a bunch of them that we're pretty susceptible here in Western Washington to. With the rain, the heavier dews in the morning, you're going to start seeing that stuff pop up in what was really healthy grass pretty quick. Is it the end of the world? Probably not. If you can live with it a little bit in the winter, probably comes back in the spring when we overseed it and feed it again, and it usually grows right through and off we go. But removing that thatch is key. If we get rid of all that dead grass, and get it out of there, that's where these problems are going to fester, down above the soil level. And then now that it's wet, continue to get up onto the blades. And then we end up with these circular patches of this and that. You walk on them, you get them on the lawnmower, we spread it other areas. It's one that will take over pretty quick if we're not careful. So watch for turf diseases. You can look online and probably find some pictures. The most common one we see up here is red thread, would be an easy choice. And just something to maybe consider spraying for. Watch for it early. If you don't want to get it going, certainly don't walk or mow it, because you're going to get those spores on the blades, and then you just spread it across the entire lawn doing it that way. Okay. If we do have, a little thatch disease and we want to treat it here in the fall before it gets worse over winter, again, we've got a chemical option and we've got a more natural option. If I get a product like Infuse, comes in a bag, this is a fungicide that, again, if I had a lot of turf disease, my whole yard, yes, maybe I get a spreader, take the Infuse and broadcast that over. That gets wet, goes down to the thatch layer. I will get the spores, I will end up winning, and it will have a chance to recover. So Infuse is all chemical, but that would be one option. I typically will get, this kind of sounds like nuclear, but this is called a biofungicide, which probably sounds worse than chemical, but this is actually the organic option. So Revitalize is a natural solution of bacillus. I mix this in a sprayer. I could walk around and spray those areas where I might have some red thread, snow mold, whatever, spring, winter, fall, doesn't matter. And frankly, the majority of the yard just does a lot of good diseases naturally. If I spray this bacillus solution on there, this is essentially a fungus-eating bacteria. So I can put this on my rose, my fruit tree, my vegetables. You can put this on anything. But in turf, it's probably the superior choice still at this point for a natural organic type disease control. So remember that Revitalize, this we would mix in a sprayer and go along and spray those areas that need it for turf issues. Okay. Last thing on there is crane fly. Now I watch for crane fly in my yard, because you'll see those little mamas skimming across the grass. Looks like a mosquito met a daddy long leg spider, and she's just skimming along and dropping eggs everywhere, which of course turn into larvae, and they start eating your grass roots. And you're going to walk out here in fall, winter, spring, and see large areas that are browning out. Those little crane fly larvae will eat the grass roots. And unless you dig up a little square, turn it over and look in there and find them, you're probably not going to know that you have them for sure. So there's probably some questions going to come on that. If it was me and you're wondering if you have it, maybe you've got some areas that have gone kind of half brown or starting to go brown, kind of go to the edge of that area, maybe where you still got a little green, take a square shovel, just dig down 6-8 inches, dig a little square, flip it out of there, carefully look through the roots, and you're going to find, probably got a picture on the bag, you're going to find those little grubs right there, grayish, whitish. They'll be curled up and probably squiggling. They're kind of fun. Well, not really, but they're they're in there. If you find those, okay, I got crane fly, I've got to make a choice. Do I broadcast? Do I live with it? How am I going to get them out of there? So insect and grub control would be more the systemic choice. If you really have crane fly and you've got to do it, this is one that would soak into the soil. So we would apply this on a day that's a little bit more wet. We don't want this up here on the grass. We want this to soak into the soil structure and nuke all those little larvae. So we get insect and grub control, spread this with a spreader on the turf area is one option. If you want to go non-systemic, then we would use a product like Aerate. So this is still a synthetic product, but it's not systemic. It's a little milder than the insect grub control. But this is one I could go out and sprinkle this on my turf, take care of grubs, some other things as well. It also works great on root weevil if you've got that issue around shrubs in your yard as well. So Aerate, but the granular Aerate's a tough one with bonite, because there's liquid Aerate, there's granular Aerate. Make sure you get the granular Aerate. We have it in these shakers. This would do about 1,500 square feet. We also have bigger bags that will do a larger area, so you can take your pick on that one as well. Okay. So crane fly larvae, we'll move on from that. But again, if you're curious, look online. You can find a lot of pictures of what a little crane fly larva looks like. And then again, make the choice of how you want to attack the situation. Okay. Now, if we start, kind of before, I'll show you a couple pictures here. I just want to mention, because I'm sure, again, kind of anticipating questions, are you starting over or are you rejuvenating? That's probably a question that's going to come up. Yes, I've got grass, it's okay, I'm going to do this and that and spruce it back up, and off we go for another year. That's one part of the class, which we've kind of talked about so far. If we're going to start from scratch, I'm done with it, I'm nuking it, I'm digging it up, I'm bringing in soil, and I'm starting over again, certainly email me. I'd be happy, or the staff, to give you some tips on what to do. But, real quick, it's all about soil. If you're going to start with a brand new lawn, you need 6 to 8 inches of really good soil to work with. I don't want an inch or two of really good soil you dumped on top of hard pan clay. That is not going to last long term. You're going to have to do it again. If you really want nice grass, take the time to till it up, get rid of the rocks, add good soil, figure out your drainage. These are all the things I did 20 years ago to have grass nice still that I've never had to redo again because I focused on the soil. So soil is always the key to me. I feel bad because more people come in here after this class or know me and find me here as the OCD lawn guy. And it's like, man, I just bought a house down the street, new development, grass looked great for a year, and now it's just crashing and burning. Well, that is exactly the same reason I'm talking about it. If you inherit a house that hasn't been anything done, or you buy a new place that's new construction, that contractor is going to put down 1 inch of black dirt over your entire land, throw the sod on it. You buy it a month later, probably sooner than that, because houses are selling too fast. But you're going to buy that, look out, oh, sweet, look how green and fine my lawn is. Then 3 months go by and you're like, what is going on? It is crashing and burning. We do not have any soil structure to grow a deeper root system, to have a happier lawn, to be drought tolerant, all those things that we would want out of grass. So, keep an eye, if you got a new house, this is the decision. Do we get it out of there, start over and have a long term, or do we dig a chunk out of that, look at it? Is this something I can work with by overseeding, feeding, and getting it back in shape that way? Okay. Seed versus sod. You saw us, I brought up a bag of seed. It's very cheap to overseed your lawn, or very cheap to seed an entire new lawn. Whether you buy seed is the cheapest route, do it yourself, have a hydro seed company come spray it, is still fairly cost effective. Sod is going to cost a lot. If you're into instant gratification, make your choice. You can call the sod guys and they'll come lay you out a roll of sod a day, and oh wow, look, I got turf already. I think sod is tougher to get established. I mean, if you do these things, it'll help, but you also inherit whatever issues were at the sod farm. You've got that fiberglass mesh that sits down underneath there so they can roll it up and roll it out. It's very hard to get out of there long term. But, again, it's your choice, a little bit more money, but you get, grass right away with sod. If we go out and seed this time of year, you give it 4 or 6 weeks, you're going to have I think, a nicer looking lawn and a little better soil structure with just doing seed yourself. It doesn't take that long for grass to germinate, establish, and fill in. You're going to have a great looking lawn here in just a few weeks in the fall. Okay. Now, if you are going to start over, the one thing I would say is you have to get rid of the sod roots. Everybody who emails says, well, what can I do? I sprayed it with Roundup. Now what do I do? Well, that's fine. If you've got a garbage lawn, or you really want to start over, we kill the existing grass, weeds, all of it. We have to get that sod layer out of there. Those grass roots take forever to decompose. So if I want my 6 to 8 inches of good soil that I can establish a nice long term, I want everything that's there gone, including the root system. So it's probably getting a sod cutter or rototiller, tilling it all up, getting all those chunks out of there, then rolling it out, leveling it, getting it nice and firm, adding in some soil if we need to for the structure. And then we can follow that same process. Seed, get the food down, get the lime down, get it top dressed with compost, and off we go. We got a brand new turf. Okay. I'll mention moles real quick. Steve's probably the one you can send some mole questions to. He's the mole guy. Moles are a tough one. We could bring probably 10 good lawn people in here and we'd all have 10 different opinions on how to take care of moles. How's that? I would go back to simple science and say, first step to me would be, why is that mole there? There is something he wants in your soil. So it's crane flag grub. Is it something else? So maybe we try to remove what he wants to eat, and maybe he heads to Mrs. Johnson's next door and you don't see him again. That might be one choice, okay? I would always try a repellent. I brought a bag. Again, maybe you can send it to Mrs. Johnson's next door, but we have something like Molemax. Again, no poison. This isn't going to kill anything. It's not going to hurt your kids, your pets, or anything else. But I broadcast this out on where the mole is active, and hopefully he moves here. And then I do another chunk and he moves there. And then maybe I get him to head to the Johnsons or the Jones next door, left or right, and I don't see him again. That would be the second thing to try to me. The mistake I think homeowners make with Molemax is they're red in the face, they're sick of the mole, you know, war is on. I'm going to take that bag home and I'm going to cover my whole darn yard with it. Well, that's not how to do this. If I cover the whole lawn, where's he going to go? He's in the middle and here's his hole. And now everywhere I go, I smell castor oil and I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm going to stay right where I'm at. So try 1/3, wait a week, then go out and do another third, wait another week, and then go out and do another third. Now, hopefully you move that mole from the center to the side. And again, hopefully across the property line at some point, okay? You know, third phase is where you send Steve a note here. I'm done with all that crap. War is on. Give me a shotgun, pellet gun, gasser, electrocution, gasoline, whatever. No, I'm just kidding, all that stuff. But trap, gasser, you can do all that stuff. I kind of always chuckle because technically it is illegal to trap a mole in the state of Washington, although I don't know that the sheriff's ever going to come give you a ticket for getting a mole out of your yard. So, but those are all options. You know, you've run out of, he's still there, I've tried to repel him, now war is on and I want him gone. Well, then we set you up with the cinch trap, you know, or some other kind of device to hopefully nuke him and get him out of the ground, okay? I would say this before I show you a couple of pictures. You know, speaking as a guy, for all the gentlemen that are watching here that maybe are OCD long guys like me, follow the instructions on the label. You know, do your math. The problem with guys, I would say, is, well, sweet, I got a bag of infused. I'm going to put the whole darn thing down on 1,000 square feet because I'm going to win 5 times over. That is not what this is about. So follow the instructions on the bag. If you have to make a choice for grub control or infuse or even a chemical product, it's not going to work 5 times better if you put 5 times as much down. All that excess is going into the environment, the groundwater, as poison. So just use what you need. Follow the directions. You don't need any more than that. And then you'll be a little bit safer that way, okay? And again, try to go green. You know, I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're banned from shopping here because you put down Scots or whatever else. You can do what you want to do. It's your yard. But it makes me happy every year. I hear from 20, 30 more guys, usually, some ladies as well, that come in and say, man, I took your lawn class last year. I tried what you told me finally, and I am so happy with the color of my grass. I don't have to mow as much. I don't have to feed as much. It makes me happy because, you know, your life's going to be a little easier. And again, you've really helped out the environment by using something a little bit safer, okay? So try to go green. I'm going to show you. We're going to do this fast. It won't take long to do the pictures here, but give me 1 second. I'm going to show you a little slideshow if we can get this computer going, if I can see it from there. Give it 1 second. Now this again, I keep mentioning we kind of do this class in spring and fall. You're going to see a really similar presentation, more geared for spring as we get into October next year, okay? So if we look at a couple of these pictures, these are kind of the products, so you can go back and watch this if you missed any of them. There's your 2 mouse control products. Here's the weed controls here. You got sedge ender, brush killer. There's your post and pre-emergent, that weed beater complete. That's the bag. And then if you want the natural one, there's the weed beater FE. So if I want to be a little more environmentally friendly, that's your kind of natural weed killer. If we look at the food and the lime, now I put a Spoma lawn food on there as well because I think that's another great organic food. And if we have a backup around here, that's what it is. If we're struggling to get EB Stone because it's so popular and you guys buy it all, we will get a Spoma. That's another great organic family brand that I've used before too. It works really good. So that one you may see in here once in a while, but that again, Nature's Green, the cute little dog and the boy on the cover, that's our natural one right there. That's the one that we would stick to and try to have, 12 months out of the year for us to use. There's your two soil products in case you missed me carrying them up. So again, compost and top coat. I want to make sure this is clear on those soils. If you've got an approximate measurement of your turf area, the top coat comes in a 1.5 cubic bag. The compost comes in a 1.5 cubic bag or a compressed bale. So if I have a bag of either of those, I'm going to cover about 200 square feet of seed. That's the key with that little 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch top dressing. If I buy the bale, I'm going to get about 400 square feet out of the compost. So like I mentioned, I use the compost probably more than the top coat, depending on what we have around. I get 5 bales of compost, and that does my entire 2,000 square feet of turf every fall and every spring. There's your pictures for disease. So again, chemical infused or Revitalize will be our natural option if you want to stick with the natural. And then insect and grub. I'm playing around with some crane fly stuff. I'm watching to see if I get much this year, but I'm trying to find another solution, again, more on the natural side. The insect and grub is systemic. It'll last a while. It works great. 8 will as well. It's a little bit more mild, and probably can use that for some other things in the yard as well, like I mentioned, root weevil and some things, but those are going to be your 2 choices. And then there's your mold products. So there's your Granular Molemax, and I put the spike on there, which is kind of a funny little device that some people will say is very effective. Other ones say the mold dug his hill up right where the spike was. So that may be something to try. But if I get them out of my yard over to the Johnsons, that might be the one. I can put a spike along the property perimeter. They cover a big square footage area. They kind of chatter in the soil. So typical molds will not come back into that area. Now, if I show you a couple pictures, so this is my lawn here, okay? So you can see after thatching, if my wife didn't know better, she probably would have walked out and say, "What have you done to my grass?" Or I should say my grass, but she would be upset. That looks like what have you done? You'd light a little bomb off up here and you just killed all your turf. So that is thatching mess. If I run a proper thatch device down, I'm going to mow it really tight down to the turf. I'm going to run that thatcher down to the base layer, and I'm going to have a whole bunch of junk. I mean, out of 2,000 square feet at my place, I could probably fill my gigantic city yard waste bin 3 or 4 times full with the debris that comes up. I'm getting all the dead grass out, everything I don't want. So I'm to the point on the right there. That is after I raked. Again, God, is that grass or is that dirt? It's about 50-50, to be honest with you. The grass is really shaved down to the root zone, and I've gotten all the junk out of there. I'm left with my about half dirt and half grass. Everything I don't want is gone, okay? Now, after I top dress, you can see on the left there, what am I looking at? I'm looking at a lot of dirt, that dark black brown compost color. You can see where there's some grass that was a little hardier that didn't come up as much. That's fine. It was healthy. It was established. But you can see where I top dressed after I seeded and fed and lined and all the things we talked about. That's after I top dressed. You can see how much dark black is showing. I mean, that's probably, a half or 2/3 dirt, 1/3 green. Again, probably freaking out. What have I done? Now I wait a week. That's 1 week. I took the picture. After a week, we're getting some more grass coming on there. There's a month. So now I'm back to perfectly green grass that has filled in. It's got room to grow. I'm going to have happy turf all through the winter. You can see my younger boy there, Mr. Max at 6, helping me clean up leaves. So, I mean, I'm good to go into the fall. That picture right there was taken in like early November. So trees are turning. My maples are starting to shed. But you can see how thick and lush it is. It's filled in very nicely, and I've got great grass going in the winter, okay? Now, I'll show you the last picture here. Now, this was taken 2 weeks ago when I was home. Nicole's probably laughing because she's on Facebook and she probably saw my wife and I ranting about the raccoons. So this is one little part of the damage. I got 3 little BDI raccoons that have found my yard and must like my organic practices because they are destroying my lawn. This is the front yard. They've also gotten the other 2. So like I said, the war is on at my house. I'm trying some some different ways to get them out. And I just purchased a trap, and if nothing else fails, I'm going to trap some raccoons and relocate them somewhere out in the woods way east of here. But I don't know what they're after, because they're not digging up, and I don't have crane fly larvae. I've checked. I got a lot of healthy earthworms, so I'm thinking maybe they like a little earthworm snack. But I kind of put this on here, because I could vent for a minute, let's be honest. But two, you could look at this picture and say, I'm not alone, because, you can be the best gardener and worry about this, and I do all the right stuff in my yard. And sometimes nature just says, you know what, welcome. We'll throw you for a loop here. We'll see what you got now. So I'm playing around with the raccoons here over the fall, and I'm going to reseed. I'm going to have to repatch all this, and some of it's already been done. But don't feel alone, because I have a feeling there's others out there that say, those guys got mine too. So let's see. All right. So there you go. In case, we'll mention the emails at the end here, but I always put it on. I do slides. You've got our website on there, both of our email contacts. If you got any pictures or questions, certainly send them down. I will say this as I stop the share here. If you're wondering, what's going on in my grass, I've got a picture of this, what's going on. If you send a picture via email, send it as an attachment. If I can't blow it up and look really close, I'm not going to be able to tell what's going on. We got a lot of people that send picture on their cell phone that I can't do anything with. I can't blow it up. I can't manipulate it. If you send it as an attachment on an email, that way I can look at it. Maybe I can figure out what's going on before you have to come down. There's no substitute for bringing, again, square shovel, take a piece, put it in a little box, bring it down here. We look at it, see what's going on. You take it home, you can put it right back where it was in the yard without damaging it, okay? So feel free to also bring down some samples. All right, so hopefully we taught you a few things today. As you can tell with all of our classes here, the special starts today, runs through Friday. You got 20% off all the lawn food products. So everything I've shown you up here today, it's all programmed in our fancy computer. You come down, say, I was at Trevor's class on Sunday. I need to get some lawn goodies. We hit a magic button for the class discount, and you got 20% off all this stuff. So I'll tell you, if you were smart and you like organic, because organic food is always a little more expensive than synthetic, I'd buy a year's supply. We have a lot of people come down. It's like, you know what? I used 4 bags of that during the course of the year. I'm going to pick it all up now, put it in the garage, because it never goes bad. Just keep it dry, keep it in the garage, and you've got your spring dose taken care of. In your next year, we'll talk a little bit more about it spring, but, kind of as a side note, if I'm feeding my grass organically, I'm going to go out and do it this time of year, mid-September to early October. I do it coming out of winter, mid-March, early April, sometime in that time frame. Maybe I do it once in the middle of summer, and that's it. I'm not doing this liquid crack where I got to feed it over and over again, and you never have this ending cycle of it grows so fast and then it crashes out and I got to add more. Synthetics will tend to do that to you. Organic, nice, even green all through the season, much less time as far as fertilizer, okay? So all that's on sale. Just to give you a heads up, so the 20th of September through the 26th is our annual Customer Appreciation Week. So watch your email. Nicole, the master of marketing here, will be sending out some notices here on the email. You'll see all the fun stuff we'll have on sale that week. We'll have raffle goings. We got some kids activities set up. We can't do food still with COVID going on, but maybe we'll get back to the barbecue hot dogs here at some point. But it'll be a great week to come down and shop. There'll be some great discounts on the whole property, honestly, and some fun raffles, some free things to win as well. Okay. The next class with this with the sale weekend going off, we're not doing class that weekend. So our next class is going to be the 2nd of October. It's a couple weeks out. Holly, our houseplant queen, will be teaching a class on terrarium. So if you're looking to kind of, as we get in the fall, we start working our way back indoors gardening, terrarium class will be a real fun one to jump on. She'll be going through some fun how to set up a terrarium and get it all rolling. I'll be back that next weekend, the 9th and the 10th of October. If you like listening to me, talk about this, that, and the rest, I'm not going anywhere. So I'll be doing some classes here in early October again. The 9th will be fall colors and winter bloomers. So we'll be talking about some fun stuff to have through the fall, winter. And then the 10th is spring bulbs. So we'll be talking tulips, daffodils, crocus, hyacinth and all the fun stuff that we would plant in the fall and get to enjoy as it starts to bloom that next spring, okay? So that's a whole lot of talking. Did I make it? I did. 4 minutes to spare. So I'll turn this over. We'll see what Nicole's got for questions. I have a feeling that the Whistling Gardener might have got most of them, but let's see what we got here.
So all those classes that Trevor mentioned that are coming up, you don't have to remember all of them. They're up on our website, sunnysidenursery.net. There's a classes page. We post all of the direct links to these videos. We've also got the handouts that are attached there, what's coming up next. So it's a really great resource page for you to utilize. Go back, rewatch some of the old ones, whatever you need. So this will be recorded, be posted up on our YouTube channel as well. Subscribe to that. That way you get instant notifications when new content comes up. So you're right. Mr. Smith did answer a lot of these questions. I know, because he's excellent. I love when he's behind the scenes with me. It makes my job really easy, and he's a wealth of knowledge. So hopefully he helped everybody with all your questions. But there are some good generalized questions. So you mentioned the shelf life of some of like the lawn food. What about all the other products? Can we use them now and then use them again in the spring? Do they have shelf life? What do we need?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's a granulated product, we simply just need to keep it from getting wet and just keep it in the garage, in a shed, wherever. It just can't get wet. We keep it sealed up. We could use that over and over again if you've got a small area. The liquid stuff, it's more about freeze and heat. So as long as I have the cap screwed on securely and I keep that in, again, typically a garage or a storage shed, but it doesn't freeze, because if we freeze these liquids, we will change the chemical composition, or vice versa. The temperature is huge, but as long as you're not getting like over 100 degrees in your garage, which I hope it doesn't, maybe this year it did for a day or two, but you know, then we're safe. It'll last forever.
Love that. What about, we've been talking about, you know, products that are safe for pets and kids. Are there any tips, any things that are not safe that we should make sure we steer away from if we have those?
Well, you know, again, I try not to talk about this a lot during the class, but you asked, so I'll just tell you. You know, the organic stuff is organic. It's going to tell you right on the bottle, people safe, pets safe. It doesn't matter. You know, it's your choice which way you want to go. But let's say I go with a chemical weed killer or a chemical granular application. If I just need to get something to get me going, and then maybe I go back to green. I'm just going to make sure, if it's a granular product, I apply it. I keep my kids, my dog, all that stuff off of the lawn until it has a chance to wash down into the soil. Then I'm not going to get it on paws and shoes and feet and everybody else, okay? If it's a liquid form, I want to make sure I spray that on. Most of that stuff dries in a few hours, but if it was me, you know, let's just say we're on a Saturday morning and you're like, you know what, I'm doing it this weekend. I'm nuking weeds. I'm starting this process that Trevor talked about. Let's go out and spray the weeds, keep the kids and everybody out of that lawn on Saturday morning, give the chance for that to dry on, activate, hopefully kill the weeds. It'll show up pretty quickly. Then the next day I'm probably okay, you know, running around kind of thing. Maybe as long as my dog isn't physically eating some of those weeds that are shriveling. But that's what I would probably say is, you know, it'll tell you this on all the labels. That's why I kind of spoke as a guy, because I got friends, I got family that, you know, again, I'll put twice as much down. It'll work better. Then we got more issues with the people safe kind of thing. But, you know, even the organic things, let's just say I use the organic moss killer. You know, I've mentioned potassium soap. I'm not going to drink this. I'm not going to go out and spray my kid with it. You know, it still doesn't change the fact it's not good. It's not chemical. It's not systemic. But I go out and spray this on. I let it dry onto the moss. It works very quickly. You know, I'm done. You know, I don't have any issues with it long term would be the difference.
Is all of this kind of the same story for birds and wildlife? Is there any, you know, anything we need to be concerned about for them as well?
No, same thing. I mean, again, I'm just being brutally honest. I worry more about the crane fly end of it than anything, because if I'm going to apply a granular product into my soil to get rid of things I don't want, what else is disappearing? The earthworm, you know, decomposers, beetles, pillbug, I mean, you go on and on. You know, I've tried to get them to answer point blank, what happens if I put this down? Does it reduce my population of beneficials in the soil as well? So again, that's why I try to live with a little bit of crane fly if I can. catch those little suckers. If you walk out in the morning or right before dawn, you can probably find them skimming across the lawn, and maybe stomp them, grab them, whatever, to eliminate most of it. But, you know, again, if you've got lawn, you've got crane fly everywhere, you got to treat it with something. So maybe in that case, okay, I got to step up and use that one time to start over again. Then I can start maybe a little different management practice long term.
Gotcha. Going back to pets, specifically dogs, do you have tips for when, you know, the little bare spots that are left by dogs when they use the bathroom in the yard? How do you get that to green back up?
I think we can say urination on video. It's not such a bad word, right? That's a really tough one, to be honest. I'll tell you, from some other members in my family, with female dogs are a little worse than males, to be honest. There's a specific hormone in their urine that tends to burn out patches where maybe the males doesn't as much. I don't have a magic answer for you on how to get rid of those dead areas. Essentially, you're looking at the same process we talked about at the beginning. If I have a dead patch here or there, it's not because of disease or crane fly, it's the dog. Or a different pet for that matter. Yes, I've got to kind of scratch that dead thatch off of there, do a little bit of overseeding, put the food down in the fall, top dress it. And as long as it's not a repeated spot, probably more from the female dog, the grass will grow and then it'll fill back in. Will he or she get it again? Probably at some point, but that's really our choice. Is spring and fall, we would, again, scratch away those areas, overseed them, and rejuvenate them. There are some training aids you could try. I don't know what the vets are doing. A few years ago, I had asked on behalf of some other friends and family that were like, this has got to end. I know with the vet, I believe there is a prescription or a tab that you can feed with your dog on occasion that will remove that particular hormone out of the female dog urine. That may be something next time you're at the vet, just ask them about it. Hey, is this really true? Is there something out there? I haven't asked for a few years, and it doesn't hurt your dog, but it might be an option as well.
Shifting gears, there's been some questions about brush killer. The question arose about, does it stay in the soil? Will it affect specifically fruit trees?
Well, again, if I'm getting an herbicide, and I don't even care if it's the chemical, if I use natural stuff, herbicides, brush killers at my house, it doesn't matter. Whatever it touches, it's going to do some damage. So I don't want that anywhere near root systems of other plants. You get it on the foliage, the bark, all that. Doesn't matter if it's chemical or not. We do not want to have that happen if we're spraying. So that might be half of it. If I buy brush killer, weed be gone, weed beater, any of the stuff you've seen out there, it doesn't have soil residual. It's not non-systemic. So if I spray that on there, it's going to tell you right on the patch. You're able to go back and plant in a week, or 2 weeks, or whatever the time frame is. Brush killer is probably a little bit longer. I think that one's listed at 2 weeks, if I remember right. But just check your label, because it's not going to poison your soil. This is different. Where's the brush killer? This is different, buying a liquid and using it as a topical spray versus buying something like, I'm trying to think what I've seen out there, like Ground Clear, I think Ortho still makes, or other herbicides that nuke everything. Yes, I'm never going to put that anywhere near my lawn or an area that I want to grow things, because that is going to kill the surface soil. Now I've got a year where I can grow nothing in that area. Okay, and again, it would tell you that right on the label.
So if you use that, do you want to wait that 2 week period you mentioned before doing any sort of like overseeding or top dressing?
Well, honestly, I think a week is plenty, and that's kind of where I like this fall project thing. Or again, we'll talk about this in March for the spring. Same thing is this first weekend, let's get the moss application done, nuke our weeds, give this a week to shrivel, kill everything. Now I can clean it up that second weekend and attack the lime, the seed, the food, and get the rest of the work done.
Gotcha. Any tips for rabbits that are eating the lawn?
I would always try a repellent. I mean, that's honestly where I'm at with my raccoon friends right now. We're trying a chatterbox, and I've got the trap that I may end up using at some point. But, that's my next phase, is I might end up coming home with like a product from Bona. It's called Repelzol. Maybe I spray that around the entire turf perimeter, and then the little bunny or whoever comes up. It's not going to kill anything. It's not going to do anything like that, but it's, you know, an eye, a nose, and a throat irritant. So from red pepper to clove oil to all kinds of funky smells, I walk up there and that little rabbit gets it on the nose, you know, hopefully he or she freaks out and heads the other way and doesn't come back. It will work for some, and just to be brutally honest, it probably won't work for others, but it's probably a place to start, you know, trying a repellent to see if you can get them out of that area.
All right. Well, we covered a lot of ground. Think we got all the questions. Again, thanks, Mr. Smith, for helping with that, and Mr. Trevor for all the wonderful information. As always, things pop up, questions come up. We're always here to help. Reach out via email, phone. Our email address is Sunnyside Nursery, all one word, at msn.com. We're happy to help with your specific situation. If you're restarting your whole lawn, it's overwhelming. Even watching this class and having all that information is still a lot. So reach out. We're happy to help and make it a little less scary for you. We hope to see you around the property for our Customer Appreciation Week. We're turning 73 this year. It's crazy. We've been in the neighborhoods here, Neighborhood Nursery, for 73 years. We're super grateful for everybody around us that have helped us make it these 73 years. So we want to say thank you to you. The nursery looks amazing. If you haven't been down here in a while, it's fully stocked with fall stuff. It's fun, it's colorful, it's festive. And hopefully we'll get to see you and say thank you in person. So if you're far away and we don't get to see you in person here, we hope that you'll join us again when the classes resume the first weekend in October. So we'll hope to see you for terrariums. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll see you later.
All right. Thanks everybody for jumping on. I got to check the score here in about 30 seconds, but go Hawks.